Friday the 13th films. All of them. Because it sounds like a fun thing to do, right? Spoiler, most of these films aren't very good, but they were entertaining to watch. This is definitely not the best franchise to watch if you want to go watch a horror franchise, but if you're into the slasher genre, then might as well give Friday the 13th series a chance. However, each one is not very good. In fact, the early ones are actually pretty bad, and a lot of people consider the sixth one to be the best one. So yeah, that's what you're getting into when you watch these films, so keep that in mind. Speaking of that, let's start with the worst film, which I thought was going to be Friday the 13th Part 3, but after seeing this one, yeah, it was easily the worst one. This is Jason Goes to Hell, The Final Friday, which isn't even The Final Friday. This film sucks on so many levels. It's confusing, it's boring, it's slow-paced, it's dumb as hell. It's like the people who made it didn't like Friday the 13th. Jason's in the movie for like 5 minutes in total, which is insane, and the rest of the movie is just some guy who eats his heart for no reason. It's never explained. A lot of that shit was cut on the cutting floor. The characters are bland, boring. Rewind Cinema really fucked it up on their first go at this film. Yeah, if you want to see Jason as a worm and people eat him as a worm, and he has a sister and a nephew, I guess, randomly that he's connected to, but not really, and there's like no really good connection there, and the rest of the film's fucking garbage, and he's barely in the film. And the characters suck. There's a guy who breaks a guy's fingers for no reason. And there you go, Jason Goes to Hell. It's only worth seeing if you want to see the very ending, which is when Freddy's claw gets Jason's mask. But other than that, this film is shit. Alright, the second worst film, which I thought was easily going to be the worst film, but apparently it isn't, which is Friday the 13th Part 3, which, I'll tell you why it's the worst one. It's in 3D! And what that means is that maybe it'll look cool if you have 3D glasses on, but that's all the film relies on. Now, yes, this film does have Jason in his mask for the first time, but it just sucks. It's really slow-paced, boring, and most of the time his characters are juggling shit in your face like, wow, isn't that cool? Well, no, because I don't have 3D glasses, and that's all the film cares about, is being 3D. And yeah, everything else about it sucks. The characters are bland, it's boring, it's slow-paced, and there's very little kills, and like I said, the film only cares about the 3D aspect, so yeah, this film sucks. The next up is one that I thought was supposed to be good, but it actually ended up being one of my least favorites, which is Part 4. Now, the only thing I really like about this film is there's one scene which I'll show you. It introduces a character that becomes a reoccurring character that I like in the next two films more than this one, which is the Tommy Jarvis character. It's kind of like the main character who goes against Jason. And here he's just a little kid, which is fine, but he's barely in the movie. It just feels juxtaposed with the rest of the random teenagers who are doing the random teenage things. And in this movie, all they talk about is sex, which... yeah, they parody it a lot in the other later films, but here, they're literally just, all they care about is that, and they do it the most bland and boring way possible. And the ending's pretty good, but everything else about this film is fucking boring and bland and shitty, and has a random guy coming out there who has bad acting, and I don't know, this film did not do a lot for me. There's one scene I really liked, and here it is. Look at that dance moves there, from George McFly. Yeah, this is before Back to the Future, and apparently he was crazy on set. And he made up that shitty dance. I wish it went on for longer, but this is how it's only like a minute long. Like shit, that's great. But no, all the characters care about like, no, we gotta talk about how we want to bang each other. Ugh, sucks. Sorry, I don't like Part 4. It's lame. Next up, another one that's not very good. Trust me, these later films are better, is the original. Yeah, the original Friday the 13th is not a good film. In fact, I think most people would agree on that. It has a couple good scenes. The death scenes are okay, but there's not a lot of them. I really only remember the villain's death and the arrow through Kevin Bacon's neck. That's pretty good. The rest of them they're good, but there's not a lot in there. And of course, the very ending is pretty great, but it takes a while to get there. In between there, we get to see a guy doing cultural appropriation as a Native American, which is annoying. Really bland teams that are incredibly underdeveloped, and most of the time they're just playing strip Monopoly, which is like most of the movie, it feels like. So overall, I do not recommend watching Friday the 13th. It's very schlocky, and it was very derivative of other slasher films at the time. It obviously doesn't really hold up that well. It has some very iconic scenes, but you can remember just watch those scenes in a fucking compilation clip on YouTube, so you're not missing anything with ditching this film. I don't recommend watching it. It's actually a really bad way to start a slasher franchise, because you do not want to watch the sequel afterwards. But after this, the films are better than this one. Trust me. I recommend watching these next films, even if some of them aren't that great. Next up is technically the first ever Friday the 13th film I've ever watched, well, kind of, which is Freddy vs. Jason, which I watched because I'm a bigger Nightmare on Elm Street fan. That series starts off really good, and then it gets worse. Well, Friday the 13th series does the exact opposite, if that makes any sense. Now, this film is both great and terrible at the same time. Every time there's a scene with Freddy and Jason, it's awesome, even if there is some really dumb continuity stuff, like Jason being scared of water, despite the fact that he's like always near the water. I know he died by drowning, but I don't know. The biggest problem with this film is that the main cast of human characters are terrible. Unlike the other films, which a lot of times they're just boring and bland, here they're annoying and terribly acted, especially this main girl. I don't even remember the fucking name. She sucks. She is so bad. Freddy died from fire. Jason died from water. How can we use that? I really don't like those characters. They're so badly acted, and it feels like the director really only cared about Freddy and Jason, and the rest of them didn't care much about, so made those scenes terrible on purpose. But yeah, it's bad. Like, come on, if you're at least gonna do one scene really well, like, at least try to make the other scenes work well for each other. Like, come on. But yeah, all the scenes of Freddy and Jason are pretty cool, even if it is more goofy than scary. This film isn't scary at all, but it's fun. Next up is Jason Takes Manhattan, which is the last one that Paramount ever made. And then, you know, it's not very good, but it's pretty funny, actually. There's some pretty funny scenes I really like. That was great. Every time when Jason gets Manhattan is when it gets pretty good, though. This scene with the guy fighting Jason for like 5 minutes, I love it so much, and he just knocks his head off. But yeah, this film overall isn't that great, but it is entertaining for the most part. It's not great, though, but it's for schlocky horror slasher stuff. You know, it keeps you entertained for the most part. And you gotta love the pointless scene where he fights Jason for like 5 minutes. Next up is Friday the 13th, The New Blood. This one is, especially compared to the previous film in the series, this one was kind of a downgrade, except for one aspect, which is the effects and design of Jason, which I think is the best one ever, especially when he gets unmasked. Like, it looks fantastic. The next film looks fucking terrible for Jason effects, but this is easily the best he's looked, in my opinion, like the chain around his neck, and it's pretty cool. Oddly enough, the main plot is not that great, but the rest of it's fine. We get a lot of cool Jason scenes. It's just random Carrie versus Jason, basically, but, you know, just nowhere near as good as actual Carrie, because it's not Carrie, it's Tina, I think that's her name, right? But it's pretty cool, actually. If you like Friday the 13th, you'll probably like it, but it's a little bit of a downgrade. Next up is Friday the 13th Part 2, which is the one that really got me through the franchise. I saw this one, I was like, wait, maybe the rest of these films are worth going through, which I'm glad I did. This one's hilarious, but also, it's not scary, but it's fun. It's schlocky, but it knows what it is. It's more fast-paced, there's a lot more going on, the character's a little bit more funny. There's the guy in the wheelchair who dies by going backwards. It's hilarious. The girl pretending to be Jason's mom's pretty funny. Jason's kind of an idiot in this, but that's kind of hilarious. I like his backhead, like the mom shrine. I like this one. Honestly, this is what really got me through the franchise. Alright, and if you haven't seen Part 2 and you want to see the franchise, well, you know, I recommend watching Part 2. In fact, you pretty much skip Part 1, just go straight to Part 2. That's my opinion. I like this one. Next up for me is Part 5, which is the one that some people didn't like at the time because technically it's not Jason, even though this guy pretty much is just Jason, just a guy pretending to be, but it kind of does fit in the timeline as this is the second appearance of Tommy Jarvis in a mental kind of camp thing. There's a lot more fun characters like the main camp counselor lady and like the little kid, and there's a fun scene where the guy dies on the toilet. There's a lot of funny scenes and a lot of goofy scenes. The director was kind of an asshole, but there's a lot of tense things that I kind of like in this film. I thought this was going to be my favorite of all the series, but you know, it's good, even though the fact it's not Jason, it's kind of stupid because the guy basically is Jason. But there's a lot of interesting things in it. There's a lot of memorable side characters, and yeah, I guess the one scene I picked wasn't that great, but you know, whatever. Copyright, I can't show them each scene, so hopefully I won't get copyright strike with this. Hopefully my little editing does the trick. Oh well. Bye, dead Jason. Let's go on the next one. Jason X is a very strange one because it's really not a Friday the 13th film. Well, it's called Jason X because, you know, whatever. New Line Cinema didn't have the rights to Paramount's Friday the 13th name, but they had the rights to Jason. But this one is still pretty funny. So basically, this movie's best way to describe it is, what if Jason was an alien instead of a xenomorph? And that's really it. It's basically aliens with Jason Voorhees, and I actually think it works better than Aliens, which I thought was very disappointed by. The film is fun. It's more sci-fi than anything, but yeah, it's the last one in the timeline, technically speaking, so this is technically the last one, even though it doesn't tell you that. It's great. I like everything about it pretty much, even though it's, you know, not the best film in the world, but it's definitely entertaining. If you want a sci-fi Friday the 13th movie, they give you exactly what you wanted, and it's pretty good. Not great, but, you know, pretty good. The second to last Friday the 13th film is Part 6, which many fans consider to be the best in the franchise, and for the most part I would have to agree with them. I wasn't really sure at first, but after thinking about it, yeah, this film was pretty great. Basically, this is the first zombie Jason film, as the first 4 films he really wasn't a zombie, and the 5th one, of course, he wasn't even in it. But this one, he's technically resurrected. It's the last of what people call the Tommy trilogy. This is the last appearance of Tommy Jarvis, who was supposed to appear in Part 9, but copyright issues, which is probably we don't have a new Friday the 13th movie at all because of copyright issues that still persist to this day. This one's great because it's more cinematic, has a lot more going on, and it's definitely one of the more scarier films, mostly due to the fact that there's actually kids involved this time. Before he only deals with horny teenagers, here there's actually kids, and there's actually quite a few scary scenes in the film because of that. You're like, are they actually going to kill any of these little kids here? And the kids are a little sarcastic, and they're pretty memorable, they're pretty good actors too. The director did a good job of getting some good kid acting, so which is a little bit more of them, and the camp counselor has to worry about them and all that shit, while Tommy there is trying to get rid of Jason once for all, and a plan that kind of makes sense, as Jason's even more unkillable than he was before in the previous films, as is the first time he's taking gunshots, so that actually makes him more of an intimidating character, and this film's honestly worth watching. This is definitely one of the most entertaining films in the franchise, because look at that, they even crash an RV and all that shit. It's awesome. This film's great. Like I said, I recommend these films, pretty much, what would I say, part 2 to whatever. You know what films, you know what I mean. And at the top of the list is Friday the 13th from 2009, the remake, which is kind of odd. We see basically the Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th are kind of opposites for me. The original Nightmare on Elm Street is great. The original Friday the 13th sucks. The Nightmare on Elm Street remake's terrible, but the Friday the 13th remake is the best in the franchise. Essentially, what they did with this film is, what if we took all the best elements of all the previous Friday the 13th films, put them into one movie with more dynamic angles, making it actually kind of scary and shit like that, and it works. It's fast-paced. The teenage characters, while they have their typical cliches that are standard of the franchise, they make it work with good acting and good casting. Like I said, the cinematography is great. It tricks you thinking, oh, there's not going to be a lot of gore at the first kill, and then that's just the way I guess the first Friday the 13th film did. They have an evolution of the character. Jason's a lot more of an interesting character here. He's also scary, but you can see some more complexity to his character here. It's kind of like a hermit who just wants to kill people that are in his fucking area, like, get the fuck out of my woods. And there's a lot going on here. The characters are a bit smarter here. There's a lot more going on, and I honestly really liked it. So if you actually want to watch Friday the 13th film, I actually recommend watching this one, because, well, it kind of remakes all the previous first four films in a way, in the best way possible. So yeah, Friday the 13th, 2009 is my favorite film in the franchise. Though, if you want to watch this film series, I recommend doing it yourself. They are a little bit hard to watch, as the first 8 are on Paramount Plus, but the rest of them aren't. And, it's kind of hard to find them. But if you can get a chance to watch them, if you're in a mood for a slasher, then I recommend them, if some of them aren't that great. If you like schlocky slashers like I do, then you might enjoy it. And that is it. I hope Jason doesn't kill me, because I do live in New Jersey, but I probably won't go to the Camp Crystal Lake. I just gotta hope it's not Friday the 13th anywhere. And thank you for watching.